Financial advisors. Imagine if it was possible to scale your financial services practice from 6 to 7 or even 7 to 8 figures and actually work less. Welcome to the Mindshift Show with Jackie, Ben, and Steve, where financial advisors go to access tips, resources, and actionable ideas that they can immediately put to use in their practice for more wins in their business and life. Today, I am joined by my co-founders and financial planners, Ben Scuff and Stephen Kaplan. And we are going to dissect in 10 minutes or less some of the techniques that Ben and Steve use in their practice themselves, and then also with the members of Mindshift to get some great wins in their practice. Ben, I'm curious, have you found an effective method to really understand what it is that each client wants when they're meeting with you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jack. 16 years in business of doing financial planning. So we have our planning practice, as Jackie said. We have our coaching practice where we help advisors. We made a shift to charging for financial planning, and we charge 80 clients on average $3,000 a year. So when you make that shift and somebody pays you for planning, you go, wow, they're going to take all of my advice. And so what we realized a couple of years ago was that's not the case. Just because you charge them for planning doesn't mean they're going to take the medication, being change their allocation, move to a money manager, allow you to manage it and help them. So we were struggling. So a couple of years ago, we came up with a very simple way to understand their mindset and help them. And that was this very simple question. What are you looking for? Partnership or leadership with your planning and your investments? And I want you to think about that for a second before we have Steve go into what the difference is between the two. Think what you would think the difference is between partnership or leadership.
When a client asks the question, leadership or partnership, what do you mean by that? How do you distinguish that for them?
Leadership is that you want someone else to handle it, and you really don't want to be involved in the process. You don't want to be involved in the day-to-day, month-to-month. You don't want to be involved with every decision and every trade and every change that's being made. You just want someone to do it. Partnership is a little bit of the opposite of that, which is I want some help. I want collaboration on this, but I want to be involved in the process. I want to know what's going on before you do it. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to have input as well. And I want to essentially be the one to bless it. I want to have that decision-making power. It only took us about 15 years to figure this out. So to figure out this simple question, because the way we were doing it was overly time-consuming, required a lot of effort and input. We were guessing. We were trying to figure out, is this client going to buy based on performance, based on risk, based on fees? How are they going to make a decision? And we were going through several meetings in order to figure that out. And like I said, it only took us 15 years, and we realized, oh my God, we can just ask this one question right when we meet them. So they're not even a client, they're a prospect at this point. And we're going to ask them this very simple question. And when it comes to, and you can ask it about anything, but we really, its origination was really on the investment side, but it can certainly be asked for any particular aspect of planning or planning itself. And we asked, in regards to your investment management, are you seeking leadership or partnership? Now, the client or the prospect has no clue really what those words mean, but it has meaning to them. We know what it means to us. We need to see what those words mean to them, because some of them will actually respond quite quickly and go, leadership. Usually a quick response, if they give a quick response, is leadership. The other quick response you'll get is what's leadership and what's partnership, which is great because then you get to define it. And they're going to pick one of those two, and that's going to tell you what it's going to look like. So with leadership, again, is simple. This is the answer we hope for, I would say, because it's certainly the most clear, least stress, and quickest. Right? So it's going to shorten up the sales cycle. You're going to understand exactly what you need to deliver and what you don't need to do. Leadership is typically the client or prospect will go something like, I don't have the time, energy, or expertise to deal with this. I expect you to deal with it. If you get any kind of response like that, you're gold. You're good. They want someone to manage it. They want help. They don't want to do it themselves. They don't feel they have the time, energy, or expertise, or they want someone else to blame. Whatever it is, it's great. You do not have to get into your overriding investment philosophy and get into comparing funds that are in the 401k versus over here. You don't have to do all that salesy stuff that all of us have done for many, many years. It turns out they're just looking for someone to do it. And all you then need to figure out is, okay, through planning, what is a suitable portfolio for them? They're not going to give you much pushback. You'll ask them a couple further questions of what's important to you to know about this account, narrow it down. But once you get that answer of leadership, you can move on to other questions that you want to ask.
Steve, could you give us an example of when a client says leadership, what that means?
We actually use this in the field. The prospect, now client, Jim. Jim had worked for the government for forever, had a very large TSP account. Now, for anyone listening to this that's a veteran of the industry knows TSP is the Thrift Savings Plan, the government's plan. It is extremely low cost. It performs very well. And typically government employees have a very strong attachment to it. So it can be very difficult to win analytically or quantitatively when you're coming in with performance and fees and all that. It can just be tough, especially when the market's been up for the last decade. So we were able to come in from a completely different perspective. We said, Jim, in regards to helping you with the TSP, are you seeking leadership or partnership? And without even having to define them, he went, leadership. I don't know what I'm doing. This just happened by default. This is all by accident. And we said, okay, in order to provide that leadership, we will need to move it to one of our platforms. And he goes, yeah, great, whatever you need to do. Literally right then and there, we picked up a 7-figure account without having to do a whole lot. We didn't have to go through the numbers. We didn't have to go through the strategy. We didn't have to pick apart and ruin and try to eviscerate the existing product. It was just simple to him. It was, that's why I have you guys. Of course I expect you guys to do it. I wish I had someone all these years to do it. So that was a great example of just him going, yeah, we didn't need to come in and tell him, hey, let us look at it first and see if we can do better. It had nothing to do with that for him. It was, I need someone else to lead me here. I'm about to retire. I'm scared half to death. Help me. The partnership is a little more involved, and we want to make sure we really drill down on exactly what they're seeking. So you ask them, do you want leadership or do you want partnership? And you go ahead and define leadership for them, and they go, that doesn't sound like me. Okay, well, let me go through what partnership looks like. And typically, this is a more collaborative relationship where the advisor is bringing ideas and recommendations to the prospect or client. And ultimately, the client has or wants at least either final say or just wants to be informed before a decision is made. They want to be part of the process. They want to feel in control. They want to have that veto power. So again, the person might say all the same things as leadership, and they go, I don't have the time, energy, or expertise to deal with this. I expect you to bring me the ideas and recommendations, and I'll tell you whether or not I like them. And that's totally fine by us too. If they define it that way, that just means they are probably someone who's kind of above the line or controlling, and they want to still feel in control, but they admit they don't have the time, energy, or expertise to deal with it. Otherwise, they do it themselves. So they want you to be in that partnership, collaborative role with them. A great example of that is our client, Sam. Sam, high-powered executive in a very large technology company. And while he goes, I don't know anything about investments, he openly admits it. He goes, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I want you to tell me what you're doing before you do it. So he was partnership. We knew we had to find the proper manager, the proper platform where we can control when the changes are being made. And so that we can get his thumbs up, get his blessing, get that email back from him that says, yeah, team, go ahead and make those changes and everything. You're not going to get much pushback on these type of clients, which is great. You just have to meet their expectations. And we need to find out what those expectations are long before we start putting together proposals and starting to think of that, doing all that work. One aspect of partnership that you really want to make sure you have clarity on, that I want to drill down on a little further, that it will address your question. And that is, you want to make sure when you ask partnership, who is doing the execute? Who has their finger on the button? Who's responsible for making the actual changes to the portfolio? Because again, if the client goes, I don't have the time, energy, expertise to deal with it, you make the changes, that's great. That means they're on your platform, you have a client there. If they go, oh, I'll make the changes. Oh, yeah, I'll just go into my 401k and make the changes, Steve. I'll just go into my Vanguard account and make the changes, Steve. Oh, all of a sudden we may not have an investment client, someone is more of a do-it-yourselfer that's just looking for some guidance and oversight. And if that's the case, where this has impacted our practice is identifying that quickly, because you want to realize, oh, I may never get these assets. I may never be able to help them directly with these assets. So you have to decide, one, do you want them as a client? And two, if you do, how do you want to be compensated for helping them with these investments from afar, from arm's reach? So odds are, if you're charging for planning year in and year out, like members of Mindshift are, we want to have potentially a higher planning charge because we're really doing investment management from afar. So, because if you just charge your normal number there and you're counting on getting the assets, you're going to be doing more work than you had intended, and then you're going to have the realization that, I'm not getting the assets.
Yeah, what comes to mind, Steve, is our client Mark on the planning side. And we sat down with Mark, high-powered doctor, seven-figure income. And we sit down and we look at it in an old way, looked at it, he goes, he has $6 million with Vanguard. Steve's ready to pick apart all the problems in the portfolio. And Mark goes, I'm just looking for a partner. I'm never going to pay a money manager, but I would pay a financial planner to help partner with me year in, year out. We've worked with Mark for 7 years. We charge Mark every year for planning. We don't put in energy into attempting to collect those assets. We put in energy into helping him with his allocation and make sure he doesn't do anything foolish.
I think one of the things that I noticed, Jack, is that there's a certain style of person that has a very difficult time giving up control for maybe past experiences with money or other things, other decisions they made, or it's just their comfort zone. And they genuinely want a partner, because what people are missing is somebody to have that conversation with, right? They're not going to be at work and saying, what should I do in my 401k at the water cooler? They may not be able to talk to their spouse about it. So that's where that partnership comes in and why it's so important. is somebody you can talk to and make sure that you don't do something foolish, but it fits a certain style, and you need to understand that. And if you don't, you're going to waste a lot of time. You're going to upset yourself, and you're going to upset the prospect or client.
Thanks for listening. If you found this episode valuable, we would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. And if you're an established financial advisor ready to scale to your next level of profitability, experience Mindshift coaching methodology firsthand by booking a complimentary breakthrough call. Not ready for a call? You can download our 5 profit-boosting mindset shifts for growth-minded advisors, or subscribe and click on the bell to be notified of future episodes. To your next level of success, Jackie, Ben, and Steve, signing off.